This is Tom and Paula Graves from Light of Christ Radio.
And we're here with a story that we hope will give you and your group light for the journey. Instructions for leading your small group can be found below in the Show More section.
We'll give you the context of the story and then tell the Bible text as a story.
As you listen, try to put yourself in the story. Listen carefully as you will be asked to retell the story after hearing it.
Don't try to read the text along with the video. Simply watch and listen. We have found that by listening and retelling the story before reading the text, you will give God space to speak to you through the story.
Today, we continue our series, God Has More, with the story of the dreams for Joseph from Genesis 37.
After Jacob had his stairway to heaven dream, he goes on to get married. Jacob had wanted to marry Rachel, but is tricked into marrying her sister Leah. Eventually, Jacob does marry Rachel too.
Now, there's a competition between the sisters to see who can have the most children for Jacob. In this competition, the sisters also allowed their maids to bear children for him. While this was common cultural custom, it made for a very dysfunctional family. Jacob ended up having 12 sons by 4 different women.
Jacob's favorite wife was Rachel, but she had trouble conceiving and was not able to have children immediately. Joseph was Rachel's firstborn and was born later in Jacob's life. This is why Joseph was favored over the other sons.
Jacob had shown favoritism not only in his wives, but in the sons of these wives. Joseph's brothers were older, but seemed to yearn to be loved as Jacob loved Joseph. And this brings us to a story from the Word of God.
Jacob lived in the land of Canaan, where his father Isaac had lived, and this is a story of his family. When Jacob's son Joseph was 17 years old, he took care of the sheep with his half-brothers, the sons of the maids of Jacob's wives. But he was always telling his father all sorts of bad things about his brothers.
Jacob loved Joseph more than he did any of his other sons, because Joseph was born after Jacob was very old. Jacob had given Joseph a coat of many colors to show them that he was the favorite son, and so Joseph's brothers hated him and would not be friendly to him.
One day, Joseph told his brothers what he had dreamed, and they hated him even more. Joseph said, "Listen, let me tell you about my dream. We were out in the fields tying up bundles of wheat. Suddenly my bundle stood up, and your bundles gathered around and bowed down to it."
And his brothers replied, "Do you really think that you are going to be king and rule over us?" Now they hated Joseph more than ever because of what he had said about his dream.
Joseph later had another dream, and he told his brothers, "Listen to what I dreamed. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed down to me."
And when he told his father about his dream, his father became angry and said, "What's that supposed to mean? Are your mother and I and your brothers all going to come and bow down in front of you?"
Joseph's brothers were jealous of him, but his father kept wondering about the dream. These jealous brothers would sell Joseph into slavery in Egypt.
There, through struggles and God's intervention, Joseph was able to interpret dreams that Pharaoh had and was promoted to second in command of the country.
As Joseph followed God's wisdom, he was able to store grain that was used to feed the known world during a famine. Joseph's brothers would come to buy grain from Joseph during this time.
Now Joseph would not formally rule over his brothers, but they would bow to him in respect. And this is a story from the Word of God.
Now that you've heard the story, try to retell it from what you heard. Then read the text.
Discussion questions are found below this video in the Show More section. Use these to spark some conversation around the story text.
We hope you and your group will learn how God has more for you through these stories.
May you be blessed.